All right, guys. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is Chase the. We're doing a ride today. We're going to do a scenic ride, and I've done France, Tianchi, China, Eastern Falusian, China. I've not done that. So let's go there for 45 minutes, and we are going now. All right, so we are moving. All right, so this is a top, you saw it in the title. This is my top 20 favorite peppers, and they are really in no particular order. In fact, I may, the first one is first for a reason. We're gonna do that, but the reason for that is I get emails for this all the time and comments all the time, like what are my top 10 or my top 20, and really doing my top 10 wouldn't eat up 45 minutes. And if you got anything you have interest in me talking about while I do these bike rides, please in the comment section let me know, and just make sure you put it in there, a ride idea or something you want me to talk about, and I will do that. I've been having a little bit of asthma, so I took a shot of my inhaler before I started this to ensure that I don't have any problems. Very pretty day. You should see where I'm biking. Doesn't look like the rides I've been on in China so far. All right, so I have some more ES Power Drink. I'm drinking out of this. This is it's just regular water. Try to imagine this is ES Power Drink, because that's what I wish I was drinking right now. What an amazing drink. But I have more on the way, so that stuff is insane. Before I get into the list, a couple things. Housekeeping. If you're brand new to the channel, check out the membership. It is $4.99 a month. For that, there's just a lot more videos, a bunch of challenges, some aftermaths, and a lot of personal stuff about me that I don't share on the regular channel. You can find that by hitting the tab that says join. Thank you to everybody who has, by the way. Now, several people have purchased this bike using the promo code Johnny. They saved $100. We're going to figure out a way. I'm sure it can be done because I see names in here. We're going to figure out a way, you guys, we can all ride together. So what I'll do is I'll televise ahead of time of where I'm going to be riding. And if you're able to join me, we can ride together. This is an amazing bike. Before I get into my top 20, let me tell you about this bike I'm on. It's the Yasul S1M. Think Peloton with a higher IQ. Not the bike, you, for buying it. Peloton's $1,500 or more, depending on what package you get. The Nordic Track is even more expensive. Go to Yasul, there's a link in the description box. Go to the website and just click the thing that says bike. Scroll to the bottom. You're going to see a side-by-side comparison. You'll buy a Yasul. And if you use it's normally $4.99 or it's $8.99. Sale price right now is $4.99. But if you use the promo code, it is $3.99, which means you could buy one of these and have well over $1,100 grand left over from what it would cost you if you wanted to buy a Peloton. Let's think. All right, so another thing, please check out my son Johnny Jr. He started his channel. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him. So check them out. There's a link in the description. There's at the end of the video, you'll see, actually I don't do that for these videos. Yeah, you will. You'll see at the end of the video, up, down here in this corner, you'll see my son, Johnny Jr. You'll see the lifeboat right here. Pretty road. So far, all flat. All right, so let's get into the top 20 peppers. The first one on the list is pepperoncini. It's important because it's the pepper that started my lifelong love affair with peppers. My dad was my hero. I told the story before. If you've heard it, I'm sorry. But my dad really was my hero. He died 3 years ago this month. And not a day goes by I miss him, that I don't miss him and don't think about him. He gets smarter every day. I hear his words. He was a smart man. But anyway, when I was a little boy, I say between 7 and 10, I'm not really sure, 7 or 8, in that range, I don't really know. Young, single digit probably. And my dad was eating some pepperoncini. And I said, I want one. And he did the dad thing. This is hot, you won't like it. What he should have said was, it's not that hot, Johnny. But anyway, he was worried about me being a good dad, but being a persistent son, I wouldn't give up, and then he finally did. So he gave me a pepperoncini, and I really liked it. And that sort of started my love affair of pepperoncini. Now, I should say that there are lists, great peppers that I do love that are not on this list. I just threw 20 together. These are the first 20 that came to mind, all right? So, number 1, pepperoncini. Number 1 because it tastes great, it's delicious, and it has sentimental reasons for me. All right, number 2 is the jalapeno. Jalapeno is a great pepper. It tastes amazing. And it's a sneaky pepper. We talk about this a lot. There's a few that have done that to me. I've had it happen to me with banana peppers, and I've had them happen to me with Fresno. Now, peppers always vary. You know, you can pull 2 peppers from the same exact plant and have different levels of heat and different flavors. So there's a legend of the rogue jalapeno. That one jalapeno out of 10 that you'll get that just blows your lid off. I had a jalapeno a year ago, 2 years ago now maybe, that was almost as hot as a habanero. Stunning. So jalapeno, such a great pepper. There's so much you can do with it. The other thing that's really fantastic about most of the peppers on this list is that they're incredibly stable. You'll never taste a jalapeno that doesn't taste like a jalapeno. It doesn't look like a jalapeno. Where some of these pods that I'm going to mention today are all over the place with phenotype and such. Phenotype simply means the outward appearance of shape. So jalapeno. A lot of people don't know it, but when they mature, they're red. They get them in grocery stores, green. Most people think they're green. It's a red pod. All right, get some water here. Excuse me. Sorry. It's gross. I apologize. Now, I should also say that there are variations. There's like a lemon, jalapeno. There's lots of variations of all these pods. But I'm just talking about these particular ones. For instance, number 3 on the list is habanero. There's chocolate habanero. There's orange habanero. Here's the funny thing about habanero. When I started my channel, I didn't like them. They were not, and there are videos where I say so. They were not my favorite. I didn't like the flavor. Wasn't the burn. Now, we need to talk about the burn of the jalapeno. Because really, it's like a mouth tattoo. It stings more than it burns. Okay? And that's one of the problems with the habanero. It's been a pepper that stopped a lot of people. Because when you look at the Scoville, I didn't put Scoville heat scores for these. 300,000 or so for a habanero. But it stings. It has a burn that's disproportionate to its SHU. Because it stings so much. That a lot of people say, wow, if that stings like that bad, what would a Reaper be? Other peppers don't sting like a habanero does. But I used to hate, I didn't like them at all. They were like I didn't like them. Now I love them. I love the taste of them. I really like chocolate habaneros. It's a great tasting pepper. All right, so number 4. Now this is my long list. If I had to make a short list of the top 10, maybe even the top 5, this would be in it. It's the ghost pepper. Now, it's created in India. It's fabled. The first person who ate it, he said it looked like he'd seen a ghost. So that's where the ghost pepper comes from. But it's about 1 million Scoville heat. It's 900,000. It's a weird pepper because there are times of the year where I think to myself, it's not a super hot. But then like if I ate one right now, it's a super hot. My tolerance is down. The end of pod season doesn't taste so hot to me. But still, if you've eaten a ghost pepper, people, in my book, you've eaten super hot. All right, now the ghost pepper is another very, very stable pepper. Now there are so many variants. There's color. You got your chocolate ghost. I'm gonna sound like the dude from Forrest Gump. You got your red ghost, got your orange ghost, got your mustard ghost, got your yellow ghost, got your white ghost. So ghost peppers come in a lot of different colors. What you will find is that with all these peppers that come with multiple variety of colors, peach included, different color phases. The color is not going to tell you, it doesn't taste like chocolate. It doesn't taste like peach. Those are colors. That's what it looks like. Caramel, it doesn't taste like caramel. These are colors. But as a rule of thumb, as the color drains from the pepper with the different color types, the heat and the flavor does too. For example, using ghost as the example, a white ghost pepper. It tastes like a ghost pepper, but it doesn't taste as strong as like a chocolate ghost. It's not going to burn you nearly as much. Still a ghost pepper. But ghost pepper is number 4 on my list. I'm not going to give you numbers anymore because the numbers really don't matter. Otherwise, people will say they'll get at, these are in no particular order. But the next one, again, this pepper here, if I had a short list of 10, it'd be in the top 10. And this may surprise a bunch of people. I've traveled about 10 minutes, almost 10 minutes. Hang on a minute. The bell pepper. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, people. Give me 1 second. I'm going to talk a little bit about the bell. That's better. Okay. Other countries that call it capsicum. Bell pepper. What a great pepper. For so many uses, stuffing, salsas, frying them up. There's just a million uses for bell pepper. Green, I like green, but not my favorite bell. I much prefer yellow and orange bell. They're sweet and delicious. Bell pepper is just one of my all-time favorites. I should call this my desert island list. I get stuck on a desert island, I can only bring 20 varieties. What would they be? Maybe that's what I'll call this, I don't know. All right, bell pepper. No heat in that. Now, if you're somebody who loves bell pepper, that's the only pepper you eat, you wonder, are you a chili head? You are in my book. You don't have to be eating the hottest stuff in the world to call yourself a chili head. All right, the next one on the list is the infamous, absolutely incredible 7-pot Primo, created by Troy Primo from Primo's Peppers. My co-cast member in Super Hot, Spicy Life of Pepper People, Spicy World. Troy Primo's been a, you know what's funny about Troy Primo? I'm passing a car right now. Give me just a second. Okay. Anyway, I knew who Troy Primo was for years before I even started my channel. That's why my relationship with him is trippy. It's not trippy in a bad way, in a good way. It's my friend. Never thought I'd be friends with Troy Primo. But I watched videos. It's my head nod, tip my hat to Neil Smith from Hippie Seed Company. He's the main reason I started chasing. He was what got, no, that's not true. He's the main motivator that got me into peppers. But he was super instrumental in me starting this channel. So I love him. I love you, Neil. However, because of videos with Neil, about Neil, from Neil, and other chili heads that back in the day before I started my channel, I knew who Troy was, so I became his friend. I spent a lot of time with Troy. Like, I talked to him a lot. He's a good friend of mine. But 7-Pot Primo, it was the hottest pepper we tested, and that we got the results back on. Would have liked to have got enough pepper powder to do the Louisiana, the Omega Pod, which I'll talk about in a few moments. At any rate, 7-Pot Primo. The other reason it's really an important pepper is if you look at the logo of Chase the Heat, you see that pepper? Not the one with the wings and the halo and the tail. That's the Chase the Heat logo, but the banner on my YouTube channel. It's a pepper. That pepper is a 7-Pot Primo. Pepper, it was grown by Troy. It's also Primo Army, the shirts. I have a couple. That same pepper, just reversed image. It's a great pepper. It's a legendary pepper. Now, this is important to know. I'll put the other pepper in right now. Carolina Reaper is next. There are a lot of folks in the chili community that say that they're the same pepper. They look the same, they burn the same. So I don't, I play Switzerland. But the 7-Pot Primo is my logo, if that tells you anything. At any rate, I put the Carolina Reaper on the list because it's a legendary pod. I want to talk more about that in a little bit. But, moving on. The Omega Pod by Tom Broom from Seriously Hot Peppers. The next 2 pods are from him. So it's Killer Yellow and the Omega. Now the Omega, I don't know the genetics on. Here's what I do know. They didn't get this in the, they edited it out. I ate a pepper at Tom Broom's garden during the filming of Super Hots. It left a welt on my face like he had slapped me with, like he'd hit me in the face with a belt. It was past a police officer. Anyway, I personally think it was probably the hottest pepper I had in Super Hots, but we didn't have enough powder to get it tested. But it's on the list because there are the 3 hot, by the way, let me tell you right now, the 3 hottest peppers I've ever eaten are the chocolate primatale, the Louisiana creeper, also on the list, also created by Troy Primo, and the Omega. They're all about equal in heat, they just arrive at their heat levels differently. But Tom Broom is responsible for the Killer Yellow. I'm passing a motorcycle now. I don't think I've ever passed a motorcycle. Tom Broom created the Killer Yellow. He's responsible for the Killer accidental, beautiful thing that just happened in his garden. He was growing out red ones, red primatales. And the plant threw a yellow pod. Well, first he thought the yellow pod was an accidental cross with a neighboring plant, but none of the phenotypes showed, and they would have been very different had it been an accidental cross, because the phenotypes are very, very different. So it's just a red plant that happened to beautifully throw a yellow pod. He's the only one that has it. It's called the Killer Yellow, in my opinion. it's as hot, if not hotter than a Reaper. And it's a yellow pod. The reason for, it's one of my favorite tasting pods ever because it's very citrusy. Boy, it was a hill. Very citrusy and delicious. If you had somebody blindfolded and you cut a few of them open up in a kitchen, that person would think there were lemons were being cut. All right, so the next 3 peppers, they each count for their own pepper. It's not under one category. So these are 3 different peppers in the list. The Ahi Delight, the Ahi Fantasy, and the Ahi Amarillo. They are so sweet, so delicious, absolutely short list material, like of my favorite all-time peppers. The Ahi, just incredible. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pepper X, so stick around. The next one is the Louisiana Creeper. Again, that's created by Troy Primo. Now, a little news about the Louisiana Creeper. It tested I think it's hotter than, it is, I'm telling you, it's hotter than the 7-pot Primo. He just hasn't had he had it tested way back. And when he had it tested, it was hotter than the Reaper was when the Reaper first came out. Troy also created that pod, the Louisiana Creeper. That was kind of his answer to the Carolina Reaper, because there are those that think that, as I said, that Troy's the original creator. The next is a really interesting pepper. The only white pepper to make the list. It's a white ghost. Now, typically, white pods, while they are really beautiful to look at, they're gorgeous on a plant. They lack flavor. They don't have the greatest flavor. The last couple years, I've eaten some white ghost that were and the reason I know I talked about ghost peppers earlier, but this is kind of special. I'll tell you why. Because I've had white peppers a lot, and I never wowed me. Mighty Mustache has a strain of white ghost. I know that Tom Broom's growing them now too. Wow, they're delicious. So for that particular white ghost deserves to be on my list. Next is a Serrano. Really love the Serrano. Green pod, looks like a skinnier version, sometimes longer than a jalapeno. A little hotter, just a really delicious pepper. I got stuck on that pot for a couple years, not because I couldn't go on heat-wise, just because I loved them. I was cutting them up, putting them in sandwiches, just snacking on them. It's just a delicious pepper. All right, the next pepper is a Butch T Scorpion. Just infamous pepper. Do a deep dive. It's a legendary pepper. It's a pepper that's hurt Bree the most. Got a lot of friends who've been just destroyed by it. It is a vicious, vicious pepper. Butch T. Butch T, it's amazing. The next one's a really funny pepper. I haven't talked about it in years because I haven't eaten it in probably 5 or 6 years. It's a pepper created by a man named Ron Crum. He didn't create it, excuse me. It's his. Let me explain to you the story. He was a roadie. Knew every band in the world, and he was at a venue, or was a promoter or something. But he was at a venue, and someone said to him, "Hey, man, let's go backstage." And he thought he was going backstage to partake of the devil's lettuce. Since it's legal everywhere pretty much, he thought he was going to go backstage and smoke some weed. When he got backstage, the guy gave him some seeds. This is the story he told me. He said he had the seeds for like a decade. He didn't grow them. Finally, he grew some, gave them to a friend, and the friend said, "These are useless, dude. You can't eat them. They're too hot." And he put them away and didn't grow them for a long time. Sorry. Then he started growing them again. But here's what makes it unique. calls it the 420 because that's what he thought he was doing when the guy went, "Psst, come here." But he lives in, well, I'm not going to tell you where he lives. Where these are grown, though, they're in America, grown in Virginia. Because of where they're grown, believe it or not, the weather patterns almost mimic where this pepper came from, Trinidad, during the grow season at least. Every day they get rain. It's just during the grow season, it isn't too different than where the pepper came from. So that helps. But the other thing that Ron's done is he's never he grows these in a field by themselves, off just this one pepper, nothing else near it. So they've never cross-pollinated there. The day is coming where I worry that all peppers will look the same. Because what ends up happening is you get these fantastically enthusiastic growers, and I'm not knocking anybody, but they'll grow 50 different strains in 2 rows or 4 rows. You know how they get animals to mate in the zoo, guys? They put them together. Nature's going to do what nature's going to do. Some of the best peppers in the world were mistakes. Well, he's isolated these things. They've never seen anything. These are pure Morugas, and they're hotter than, they're different. I'm just saying, they taste really, really good, and they're wicked, wicked hot. And I'm tipping my hat to the Moruga 420. Speaking of happy accidents, I'm going to talk about the chocolate bula. Chad Selesky created this, God created that in his backyard, or Mother Nature, the wind, bees, whatever you want to say. But that was an accidental cross. When I started my channel, this is important to say, the year I started my channel, I ate hotter peppers than a Reaper, chocolate bula being one of them. So it's been a scary pepper. There are lots of people who will tell you it's the hottest pepper they've ever eaten. The chocolate bula. Now, since Chad Selesky grew it, several other people have grown it. But what they've done is they've done something beautiful. Something happens a lot in the chili community is where people will grow a pepper that somebody else created. It's got a name. It's got hard work, cultivation, sweat and toil. They care it. And they'll get this pot. It'll throw a strange shape. And they'll just rename it and say they did it. Or worse yet, they'll just keep the same pepper, not even get a different phenotype, and just rename it and say that they did it. However, with the chocolate bula, Steve McLaren got some. He grew them out and threw a different shaped pot. What he did was he kept the name chocolate bula out of respect for Chad and just added his initials after. So if you ever see a chocolate bula SM, Steve McLaren. If you ever see a chocolate bula DM, that's Dave Miner. Dave Miner's one of the best growers pods I've ever eaten. True master. But he grew on, also threw a weird shaped pod. That was different than Chad's, different than Steve's. He grew that out. Called it the DM version. It's the biggest, in my opinion. It's my favorite of all of them. Next are the bubble gums. Now, they aren't my favorite for flavor. They are my favorite for heat. There are some that have been grown that have been very hot. The JP Piranha is very hot. The reason I picked the bubble gums in general is because they are, I don't know, man. I'm a nerd. I'm a pepper nerd. People that are like astronomists will stare up at the sky with wonderment. I do that. I'm not even an astrologer or whatever. But I'm like that with peppers. I see peppers, and it's like every one of them are so spectacular. They're different. They smell different. They taste different. They burn you differently in different places. And the thing that makes the bubble gum so beautiful, there's a little thing on some pods, not on all. Most peppers don't have them. It's called a calyx. It's like think of it like a collar that goes to the base of the stem. Think of my head as the stem. It's like a collar that goes to the base of the stem that covers the top of the pepper as the pepper is forming. It's called a calyx. In bubblegum peppers, the color of the pod somehow bleeds into the calyx and the stem. Go look at some of the videos I've done here. I've done videos with green, chocolate, red, and yellow, all in the same video. And it's artwork. It is, to me, there's something magical and just, I'm sorry, I'm just a nerd. I'm a pepper nerd. To me, there's another, I'm gonna pass another motorcycle. Give me just a second. So the bubble gums are next. Catching them on a corner and passing it. Next up are the BBMs, the big mamas. There's a big red one, the big mustard, the big black one, the big yellow one. Again, by Troy Primo. Just big, huge, tasty, hot, and amazing. And they're just terrific. You can't make a list and talk about the top 20 peppers without talking about Pepper X. I've kind of explained to you how there's a hierarchy of peppers. And as they drain in color, they drain in heat. If there was only Pepper X and they had never released the last dab, which is a dumpster fire, but if there was only Pepper X, I might have believed it. No mustard pod has ever tested higher than 1 million. All right? So out of nowhere, to have one test at nearly 3, 1 million over the previous record. If people were growing them in my neighbor's garden, and I was getting to eat them, I could tell you, right? But he decided to, after years of telling people they'd be growing them, he decided to once it was certified, decided to not sell the peppers. So no one's ever going to grow them. All right, and then he won't sell the powder anymore either. So the only way that you can taste the hottest pepper in the world is if you try it in sauce. So he rolls out his sauce, or products, by the way. He rolls out the last dab experience. There's a video of him where he says it's 2.4 million. Forget what I say. There's a video where he says it's 2.4 million. When I did a review of it, it just wasn't that hot. I mean, I've done 2.4 million. It's what I do. So that day, Tommy was going to review it with me. He was apprehensive. And I was nervous for him as well, because 2.4 million is, like, it really is wicked hot. Get doomed. You'll see what I'm talking about. We're double doomed. It's just a kind of hot that's just, attention getting, everything else stops. Put your fork down, look around the room, gather your composure kind of hot. And when I tried it, it just wasn't that hot. It was hot. It wasn't. My first thought was, oh, dude, relax. My brother was sitting next to me because I knew he was apprehensive. I'm like, dude, you got nothing to worry about it. He tried it. He's not really a chill yet. Now, so I sent a couple bottles off. One, I got back from a lab and showed the results. It came back 61,019, which is, just a little lower than 2.4 million. So I sent it to a second lab. I should have the results possibly this week, if not next week for sure. I'm gonna read them. But here's the thing. The reason I had a problem with, if it didn't, he has said in a video that it was 2.4, but on the bottle it says over 91% of the bottle is Pepper X. When we know how hot Pepper X is, it didn't need just to be a hot sauce. It needed to be ferociously hot, and it wasn't. So what I do is, I told you, I know the pieces fit. I try to make the puzzle work in my head. So if I look at the pepper that you can't buy seeds or powder, and that in a sauce that's 91%, that's supposed to be 2.4 million, ends up being 61, my operating assumption is that I don't believe that pepper is real. It's a real pepper. You've seen pictures of it, but just not 2.6 million. It just isn't. I said I would talk a little bit more about the Reaper. It's a funny thing. I wish this was something, it's quantifiable, but I wouldn't know how to put the test together. Let me drink a little bit more water. Man, I wish this was an ES power drink. So it's probably quantifiable. It's probably, there are numbers we can figure out. I don't know how this test would happen, the survey really. But do you know how many, 8 billion people on this planet, right? Close to it. How many people do you think have seen a video of someone getting demolished by a Carolina Reaper? Saw the video, are scared to death of eating that pepper, and never will, but they have mad, even if they're not a chiliad, how many non-chiliads have mad respect for a pepper they won't eat? Sorry. That's better. Tons and tons of people who will never ever eat one have a frightening level of respect for it. And it's because of all of those videos. Now, Pepper X is the record because the book says so, but no one's ever going to eat one. You're never going to see a video. You're never going to see unbiased videos where people eat one and just go, oh my God, I made a mistake. You're never going to see someone go into legitimate panic mode eating Pepper X. It's never going to happen. And as a result, it is never going to ever gain the respect and the credibility it's due if the numbers are right. Anyhow, those are my 20 favorite peppers. My feeling on Pepper X. Am I scared of Bigfoot? You know, nah, I'm not scared of Pepper X either. So, just doesn't really, I mean, I don't know, you don't need to be you don't need to be a sleuth. Just put the pieces together and something doesn't smell right. That's all. People say he's trying to protect it. He would have made so much more money with it if there were videos all over the world, all over the internet, of people getting ruined by it. He wouldn't have a credibility problem if I got destroyed by it. I can tell you that. But anyhow, now, just quickly, I got 5 minutes, 6 minutes left, 7 minutes, 6:40. Let me think about my list again. I'm going to come up with a short list this time. Let's go with my top 10 all-time favorite peppers. We'll put the bell pepper, the jalapeno, and that's it for the, hang on a minute. Pepperoncini, jalapeno, bell. All right. Now I would pick ghost pepper, and I do a coin toss with one of the ahis, either the Amarillo or the Delight. There's 5. Louisiana Creeper, Omega Pod, chocolate primatale. The bubble gums because I need something pretty to look at. And one more. Is that one more? Maybe, I don't know. Oh, the killer yellow. I knew the Omega was in it, but I had to add the killer yellow. That would be my short list, the short list, the 10 list. Top 5 would be pepperoncini, jalapeno, ghost, 7 primo, and killer yellow. I can't shave it down any lower than that. I don't like playing games like that. All right, so I got another 4.5 minutes. It's funny, the tide is sort of shifting on the whole Pepper X thing. When I first came out and said it's not that hot, I had people going after me. You want to have some fun? Just go read the comments of people. Not me. How many people bought that sauce because of the pepper that was in it, expecting it to be scary hot, just to be disappointed? I don't know. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. We don't need that. The industry doesn't need that. You know what I mean? It's a bummer. All right, so I got 4 minutes left. If anybody's paying attention, I've gone 12.9 miles. I've burned 360 calories. My goal is to attain the physique I had when I started my channel. And when I started, I was ripped, like legit ripped. I felt good. I wasn't even working out. I was eating a lot of peppers. But I was ripped. I mean, it looked like I lived in the gym, and I didn't. I want to get back to that. But as I've mentioned in several videos, you know, muscle's like the internet. It doesn't forget. Muscle's got memory, man. And if you've used to lift weights, you once had, or you used to run, or whatever you used to do physically, if you stopped, you can get back there a lot easier than if somebody had never gotten there and tried to get there at the same age you are. Because muscle has memory. It's like, oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, we used to do this. You get more dopamine out of it. Get one of these bikes, ride with me. It's a Yasul S1M. Every time I ride it, I like it more. It's got an amazing screen. I passed a couple motorcycles today, a couple cars. It's beautiful. I've been in, I don't remember where, I'm in China today. And it's just beautiful. But I like feeling like I'm doing something good for my body. Got another 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to go. So I'm doing about a little over, I don't want to do 13 and a half. That's what I'm doing about in 45 minutes. I love it, boy. I was an athlete growing up, you know. I always felt I was inadequate, intellectually. So I tried to offset with being a good athlete. I've always been a good athlete. And getting out of shape, and that was really like my calling card. Like I was known for just being a good athlete when I was young. And that goes away. It's terrible, but age is in your head. And I can get back there. A minute and a half. I'm in a tunnel now. You know those little motorized jobs? Looks like a little wagon with a small little motorcycle in front of it. I'm passing a bunch of those right now. A bunch in a row. Anyhow, this Yasul bike is amazing. They're normal. If you go to the website, you'll see that they're $8.99. Right now they're on sale for $4.99. But if you use discount code Johnny, they'll shave $100 off. I know they won't keep this thing going long because they're selling a lot, and I know that they'd rather sell them for a lot more than what the $100 off. So I know they're not going to do this forever, but if you're thinking about getting one, I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. It's an amazing bike. It took me about 10 minutes to put it together. The hardest part about riding it is putting my shoes on or my shorts. Once my shorts and my shoes are on, After that, it's easy. I enjoy the workouts, all of them. The ones that are most rewarding are the ones where I didn't feel like doing this. I felt like doing this today. All right, 10 seconds. All right, so I went, wait a minute. No, it says I went 22 miles. That can't be right. Take a screenshot of that because you won't believe it. I know I didn't go that far. One of your funny story, I was in college once. Oh man, I was a junior in college. I was pledging a fraternity house. And I wasn't the most responsible dude in college. Okay? I was really irresponsible. Excuse me. I remember my sophomore year, the guys in the house that I thought were the craziest took me aside one day and said, "We need to have a talk with you." And I was like, "Yeah, what?" They said, "We're worried about you. You got to slow down your..." Anyway, I was talking to you. I have no idea what I was talking about. The weird thing is, you know what that comes from? A dozen concussions I've had. It scares the crap out of me. I've had so many. Anyhow, I was in college, I remembered. What a victory. I'm gonna jump in the pool, and assuming I don't forget between now and the time that I go under, I'll come back and tell you the story. But I was in college, and it was the last week of finals week. And I was a brother in my fraternity house already. So I was already a brother. And we had a thing in college, in my fraternity, if you were a pledge, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you had to have an ice cold 12-pack of beer on you, a cigarette, change for $1. We worked our pledges. So I saw a pledge before going into a class. I said, "Pledge." He ran across campus, said, "Give me a beer." He opened his cooler and gave me a beer. I went into class, and I was sitting down in class. Theater style seating. Must have been 300 people in the class. I finished drinking my beer and I was sitting down. I couldn't even tell you what class it was. But I was in the back at the top, and I kicked the bottle with my foot. And it fell over. And like a Peter Griffin scene in Family Guy, that bottle did this for 40 rows or so, all the way to the front. And the longer it went, the more eyes turned around and looked at me. It sounded like that, which made me think of that. I love you guys. You're amazing. Oh, you know what I can do? Yeah, I'm gonna, hang on a sec. I told you I went 22 miles and that didn't sound believable. And I said, I'll take a picture because I want to show you, but I won't be able to show you. Look at this. Here's my list of peppers. Do you see that? It says 22 miles, 22.36, and 40 miles in 44 minutes. That's not possible. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm wrapping it up now. Get your bike, start moving, you'll feel better. In the description box, you'll see Yasul. Use that promo code Johnny, save yourself $100 and steal that bike for $3.99. Because they're not gonna let that $100 discount code keep going. They can't. They're losing money, I know. They can't be making money at $4.99. I know they aren't making much at $3.99. So get your bike. In the description box, you'll see Yasul. There is my son, Johnny Jr. There's my brother, Tommy Scoville. Challenges I've done, pepperology. I love you guys. I'm Johnny Scoville. This was Chase the Heat.